Project 2025 mandates sun worship and nobody caught it. With the upcoming elections, a lot of questions have come up around Project 2025. So what is the mandate for leadership really all about? If I was to summarize it, it's essentially about returning the country, the United States, to Christian values. It identifies different areas in government that have moral inadequacies or legislative inadequacies and attempts to rectify those things based on guiding Christian principles or conservative principles. So at first glance, from a Christian standpoint, what could be wrong with that? But one area that slipped by many people is this mandate for sun worship. Let's take a look. On page 622 of the 922-page document, we read this. God ordained the Sabbath as a day of rest, and until very recently, the Judeo-Christian tradition sought to honor that mandate by moral and legal regulation of work on this day. Moreover, a shared day off makes it possible for families and communities to enjoy time off together, rather than atomized individuals, and provides a healthier cadence of life for everyone. That doesn't sound too bad, and it goes on to talk about how low-income workers will get some relief. But here's the part that slips by everybody, and the part I really want to highlight, which plays into sun worship. Congress should encourage communal rest by amending the Fair Labor Standards Act to require workers to be paid time and a half hours worked on the Sabbath. That day would default to Sunday, except for employers with a sincere religious observance of Sabbath at a different time, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. So it slipped by pretty subtly there if you check that out. The default Sabbath day would be on Sunday. Now, if this policy is rooted in Judeo-Christian values, why would it default to Sunday when the Sabbath is actually Saturday? The observance of Sabbath happening on Sunday rather than Saturday was actually pushed by the Catholic Church during the time of Constantine and his reign in Rome. It's also worth noting that the current president, Kevin D. Roberts, is a Catholic and even taught at many Catholic universities. Never do we see in the Bible that the Sabbath was ever moved, changed, or tampered with. And worship on the Sabbath, the fourth commandment, acknowledges God as the creator of heaven and earth and the deliverer of his people. So if rest on this day is worship, then what does rest on another day or observance of another day mean? In Ezekiel 8, God reveals all the profanity that was happening within the temple of God, with different priests and women weeping and worshiping for idols. In verse 16, we even see that they turn their back towards the temple of God and worship the sun in the east. In James 2:10, we also read this, "For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all." But what does it mean if legislation enforces worship on a specific day of the week? A day that totally contradicts the fourth commandment set forth by God in his holy 10 commandments. Seventh-day Adventists have been saying for years that mandatory Sunday laws and blue laws will come back and be legislated first by civil penalties, which is what this is, and then ultimately by capital punishment, by death or imprisonment. It's exciting to witness, but also sobering to be reminded that Christ is coming back very soon. I want to be super clear here. There's no saving America, and the idea that we have to save America or bring America back to Christian values before the return of Christ is totally off. The earth will be restored, but once Christ returns. Christians too often are caught up in politics, and this is just one more example of that happening. So as this is getting legislated, let's keep this in mind, be sober, be vigilant, and continue to draw close to Christ. Let us be reminded that he's coming back soon, surrender our lives and our hearts to him, and continue to light up Babylon. God bless.